Box model is one of the most important part of the entire CSS. Box model represents how your web page actually looks and feels like. So let me show you an example. So what I have done is that I've created a CSS style. I'm going to link that, say link relative to say control and spacebar, and we have CSS and style.css. So let me create a simple box model. I'm going to create a div, and inside that let's add some lorem. Okay, so let me just move this, and in my CSS I'm going to say that div has a margin of 25 pixels, it has a padding of 15 pixels, and it has a border which is 2 pixels, and it is in solid, and the color of the border is going to be orange, and I want the background color to be in crimson color, and I want the font, whatever the font inside it is, to be in white color. So let me save this, and if I get back to my document, so let me copy this path and get back here, paste it and hit enter. Okay, let me give some width. I'm going to go to my CSS and let's add some width. I'm going to say the width has to be around 450 pixels, and height I want it to take it automatically, so that's fine. And if I get back, okay, let me add some font family also. I'm going to add it as sans serif. Save that. If I get back to my browser and hit refresh, okay, so this is what I have. So now if I right click here and click on inspect element, you will get this developer tools. You can access this by simply right clicking and clicking on the inspect element. You can see I'm kind of inspecting the div tag, so you can directly inspect anything you like. Just right click and click on inspect, and that will get you it. So if you're doing this the first time, you will see something like this. So everything's going to be on the left side, so you need to get it to the bottom. So click here and click on this one, so that's going to get it to the bottom here. I have selected my div tag. Now you can see there's a lot of highlighting going on. So if I scroll down over here, this is my box model. See, so you can see here the blue highlighting is actually my main content. This is the padding, and this is the border which I have given, and this is the margin. So basically you can say that the content here, what we have is actually the main content what you have written. Padding is basically we are increasing the size of the entire content, so we are giving some mass to it. Border is more like a skin, we are adding a edge border more like a wall, and margin is a space, it's a blank space between any object. There are multiple ways how you can identify an element inside CSS. Let me give an example. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a div, and inside that I'm going to create a paragraph, and let's add some lorem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that lorem ipsum dollar thing and put that in a span tag and just paste it over here. So this doesn't change anything, it's just an inline element which we are adding it in our document. So let me save this, and now let's connect our CSS. So what I'm going to do is just type in link and hold control and spacebar, so we have the style.css. Let me open up this thing. Okay, let's get this in our browser. I'm just going to copy the path, paste it over here and hit enter. Okay, we have this thing, so let's style this so that we can start working on this directly. So the first one, how you can target an element is by directly specifying the selector name. In this case our selector name is div, so I can directly type in div, and we can open the brackets, and I can say that the width of this thing can be around 500 pixels, and I want the height to be auto. So if I do this, what happens now is that that particular div is directly targeted. See, we have this one. Now let's just say that I want to change the color of my font and also the style of the font. So what I can do now is I can get back here and I can directly target P. Okay, and here I can say that the color can be gray, and if I save this, okay, let me type in some font style. I want it to be italic. Let me save this. If I get back to my browser and if I refresh, you can see that directly targets my text. So these are the two selector. This is like one of the way how you can use a selector as a targeting element. The another one which you can do is by specifying an ID. So for this I can give an ID. I will call this as a box. So what happens is, instead of specifying div, this time you're going to simply specify an hash sign. Now you can see that we have a box there. So you have to say box. So save this. Let's get back to our browser. Let's hit refresh. See, nothing changes. So basically what happened is, instead of directly targeting the div tag, now we are using an ID to target the div tag. Okay, so this is one way of doing this. So let me show you how you can use classes. So let's just say I have around like multiple paragraphs. So since I've used one P here, I can directly do that. But let's just say we have around 3 paragraphs. I'm just going to copy this, paste it here and paste it here. So we have 3 paragraphs now. So if I get back and if I hit refresh, okay, we have 3 paragraphs. So instead of direct targeting all the paragraphs, I'm going to get rid of this one now. And let's create a class. I want to target only the first paragraph. Actually, I want to target the first 2 paragraphs, but the last one I want to just leave it blank. So what I can do is I can specify a class. I will call this as box text. And all I have to do is copy the same class and paste it in the next paragraph. Now I can take this text here. I can get back to this one, say dot. So classes are represented with a dot sign. And here I can say that the font style is italic and I want the font color to be in gray color. So let me save this. Let's get back to our browser and let's hit refresh. See what happened? The first 2 paragraphs changed, but the last paragraph has remained same. So let's try to modify this one too. So for this one, what we can do is we can use the nesting element to target this particular text. So what we'll do is we have a hash box. We can also type in div hash box, and inside that we have a dot box text, and inside that, actually I want to directly target this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the color is going to be teal color. Let me save this. So basically what I'm doing, I'm going inside my box, and inside the box I have a class called box text. Let's see if that is working. Okay, we have an ID called box, and inside that we have box text. Let me get back to the browser and let's hit refresh. Okay, nothing changed. Okay, what I have done is I have directly targeted the box text. Now, instead of that, what we'll need to do is we need to target the p tags. Let me save this one. If I get back and refresh, okay, see that thing changed to teal, and a lot of other things also changed to teal. So what we need to do now is we need to specify a special class for this. I'm going to give another class and I'm going to call this as simple text. Let me save this. I'm going to copy the simple text name and then I'm going to paste it over here, the dot sign. Now if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, you can see that the first 2 paragraphs have remained same, but the last paragraph has changed its color. Okay, now if you can check this out, what I have done is in every text, every paragraph I have called a span tag which specifies as lorem ipsum dollar thing. So let me show you how you can target that one. I have this div hash box. So inside this I have a dot. Actually I'm gonna directly target p. That is because I have so many, around 3 paragraph tags. So inside that I have a span tag. So what we'll do is I'll say that the font weight is bold and I want the color of that one should be in black color. So if I do this, what happens is every first 3 words of the paragraphs is going to change. So let me refresh. You can see that every first 3 letters of the paragraphs have now changed. Let's create a really simple box model with the help of CSS. So I'm inside my document. I'm going to create a div. I'm say dot box. That's going to create the class over there, and inside that let me add some dummy text. So if I add this, let me copy the path. Let's get back to the browser. Let's refresh. Okay, so we have the document here. Now we need to make this look really nice. So let's get back to our code. And now what we need to do is we need to get back to our CSS. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to target the box. So I'm using a class over there. You can see that I'm using a class, and inside this the first thing is I'm going to specify width, I'm going to set the width to around 500 pixels. I'm going to set the height as auto. So if I do this much, you can see that it automatically adds me some width. Now what we can do is we can start adding some more styles for this. Let's add the box model. I'm going to set the margin as 25 pixels, and I'm going to say that the padding is going to be 15 pixels. Let's give a background color. I'm going to give a background color which looks kind of nice. So let me look for a really good background color here. Okay, I'm going to use the teal color as my background, and if I save this, get back to my browser, let's hit refresh, you can see that it has created some style. So what we'll do is we will create some font family here. I'm going to call that as sans serif, and I will say font size is going to be small. We save that. Let's see how that looks like. Okay, that looks good. I need to change the font color. I'm going to change the font color to white. So if I save this and get back my browser and hit refresh, okay, that's white. But you can see that the line height is very close to each other. I need to give some line height. So I'm going to say line height. I'll give this as around 1 em. Let's see what makes that. Let's hit refresh. Okay, that kind of compressed it, so we need to increase more line height. So if I set it to 2, I think 2 is too much, so I'm gonna set this to 1.5 or 8. I think 1.8 is good. So let me get back to my code. I'm gonna set this to 1.8, save that. Let's get back to our browser. Let's hit refresh. Okay, it's here. Now we need to add some border for that. I'm going to add a border. I'm going to set that to around 3 pixels. It's going to be solid, and we want the color to be in orange color. So if I save this, get back to my browser and refresh, you can see that we have some really nice border here. But the border is kind of very sharp, so we need to make it more a bit of a rounded corner. So let's get back to our code. I'm going to say the border radius should be around 5 pixels. So if I save this and get back to my code and hit refresh, you can see that kind of created a small curve over there. We can also give shadow for this specific box with the help of CSS. So what we can do is here we can specify that the box shadow is basically like x-axis, y-axis, and all those things. So I'm gonna set this to 2 pixel x-axis, 2 pixel y-axis, and here now we want to set the blur radius. I'm going to set this to around 12 pixel, and the color of the blur right now I'll set it to black just for the demo, and I'll get back here and let's hit refresh. Okay, you see now we have that box shadow over there. So let's move that a little bit down. So to do that, you can see this is the x-axis. So if I increase this, see what happens, it's moving to the other side. So I'm going to set this to around 12, and I think I'll set this one also to 12. Okay, this is great. And I'm going to set the blur radius to around 24. Actually around 20 is fine, I guess. Now black is really too thick, so I'm going to decrease the opacity. Just click on this color here and you can see this line, so you can just click on this. That will change to RGBA value. We need this, so I'm going to decrease the opacity here, that which makes kind of look good. So I'm going to select this much is good, and now let's select our entire box shadow. I'm going to copy that. Let's get back to our code, and instead of this we're going to paste our code. Okay, we have an extra one here, so let's remove that. Save this. Let's get back to our browser. Let's hit refresh. See, we have a really beautiful box model. Hey guys, in this class we are going to build the complete website. So we're going to use this particular template which we created in our previous class. We're going to use this to build our complete website. So right now this is just the home page, but when we are working with this, we're going to add some new elements, new pages, and a lot of other things for this, and we're going to extend this to a much more next level. Okay, to get started, what I have done is in my VS Code, I have opened that my document. I've just copied it and I've named it as lesson 2, and I have the same images and I have the same document which I used. So now if you can check this out, there's nothing much. So right click here and open the inspect element. Let's scroll back. Okay, so I need to work step by step. So let's create our style step by step and start working on this one. Let's go to the code. And what we'll do now is that inside this one, I'm going to create a folder called CSS. And inside this, let me create a file called style.css. Okay, I need to link that file to my document now. So I'm going to type in link is related to css style.css. Okay, so I need to check whether this thing is working or not. The first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the body, entire body. I'm going to set the margin as 0 space auto. So basically this thing works in a clockwise. So 0, if I use the values like 0 5 0 5, then basically it's gonna be like margin top is 0, margin right is 5, margin bottom is 0, and margin left is 5. So using margin 0 space auto is basically you're setting top and bottom to the 0, and left and right is going to be auto. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the background color. I'm going to set it to Gainsborough. So let me save this. Let's see if this works. I'm going to get back to my page and hit refresh. Okay, the color changed, and also there was some extra space here that kind of moved. That means my page is now in a working condition. Okay, so let's check out like what are the things we need to add. So I'm going to open my developer tools, and inside this you can see the first one which I have here is a div tag. So I need to specify some kind of ID or a class for this through which I can target my entire website. So let's get back to our code. Now inside the HTML you can see that I have this div. I'm going to give a class for this. I'm going to call this as the container. So because this is the main container which is going to hold each and every element of my web page. I'm just going to copy this. Let's go to our style, say dot container. I'm going to open this one. I'm going to set the width to around 1000 pixels. I'm going to set the height to auto. So if I save this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the background color to white color. Let's save this. Let's get back to our browser and let's hit refresh. See what happens. See, we kind of actually got what we were looking for. We have got the layout, which is actually storing the entire contents inside just 1000 pixels. Now the problem here is it is aligned to the left side. So basically we want it in center. So there's a trick which you can try. So let's go to this container. You can see which I have written here. I'm going to say that the margin left should be auto. So if I do this, it's going to move to the right side. But when I say margin right has to be auto, now it doesn't have anywhere to go. It cannot go to the left, it can go to the right, so it's going to be in center. So there's an easy method to do this. Instead of doing all this, all you have to do is simply say margin as auto. So this will basically apply on all the sites as and set it as auto. So let's get back to the code. Let's do that. I'm going to add this as margin auto. Okay, save this one. Let's get back to our page. Let's hit refresh. Now you can see it's been saved. Okay, now that our container is built, now we can start directly working on our web page. Let's get back to our code. Now if you can check this out, here in this we have a header. So we have a header, and that header kind of comes till here. So inside that we have a logo, then we have a search form. So what we'll do is first we'll target this logo and the search form. That's because in my layout what I need is I need the logo to be on the left and I want the search bar to be on the right side. Let's see how we can do that. So first thing, I need to create a class for this. So this is the logo. I'm going to give a class and I'm going to name this as logo. Let me save that. The same thing, I'm going to do that with the search bar also. So I'm going to give a class. I'm going to call this as search. Let me save that. Let's get back to those styles and we'll say dot logo. So now what I need is that I want this over here and I want this to be on the right side. So for the logo, right now I don't have to do anything, but let's add it for some search. So I'm just gonna go back to my code and let's see if I did some spelling mistake. Okay, so let me just paste it here. Okay, that's the search thing. So all I have to do is just type in float and I want to float it to the right side. So if I save this and if I get back in, if I hit refresh, see what happened. We got the search bar on the right side, but it's not where I want it. It's kind of below my logo. So why is it happening? So let's open our header here and you can check that out, the logo. So if you take my cursor over here, you can see it's taking the entire 1000 pixels width. It is taking the entire size of my document. And same goes for the search. But search, since I gave float left, it is taking only the area which we have given it to him. So by default it's automatic. So the search bar and the button together, whatever the size they have taken, it is taking that size. But check out the logo. So what I need to do is I need to make the logo a bit smaller. So first thing what we can do is, if you don't know the width of the logo, you can simply go to this logo here and type in float to the left. So if I save this, if I get back here and if I hit refresh, okay, so we got the logo to the left and we got the search bar to the right. But there's a lot of issue here. What's happening is my entire my navigation bar is kind of in the middle of the GWSSD logo and also the search bar. So I need to break this. So basically what's happening is our logo and our search bar both are kind of floating. So we have to stop the floating first in order to get further. So what we'll do is we'll create a class here to stop the floating. I'm going to call this as .clearFX. And all this does is it's going to clear on both sides. So let me select this one. After the search bar, I'm going to create a div called .clearFX and save that. If I get back to my browser, if I hit on refresh, you can see that kind of looks better now. We need some spacing to the logo and also we need some spacing on the search bar. So what we can do now is you can get back to our styles here. You can see we have some style, we have written the logo in the search bar. Just hold Alt and I'm going to write in multi-line. I'm going to say that the padding is going to be around 15 pixels. Let me save this. If I get back here and if I hit refresh, okay, I think that much spacing looks fine. Okay, now that we have built the header, the next part would be to create the navigation bar. I can check this out here. My logo and search bar is ready. We have added a ClearFX. The next one is need to work on the navigation bar. The first thing is I'll change the background color of that. So let me get back to the code, and inside this you can check it out that I have a nav. So what we'll do is we'll specify a class for this. I'll call this as main menu and let me save this. I'm going to take this main menu class and go to my CSS and add it here called main menu. I'm going to set the background color to teal color. We'll save that. Now if I get back to my browser and if I hit on refresh, you can see my entire navigation bar which I'm supposed to build is in teal color now. But there's an issue. Why do we have so much space here? So what you can do is you can just open this up. You can see that we have a unordered list, that is UL over here. If I select this, we have some highlighting going on. You can see there's green, blue, and the orange. This is a box model. So if we can scroll down in the UL, you can see that we have a 40 pixel padding on the left, and then we have a top and bottom 16 pixels margin. So we need to get rid of that one. So what we'll do is we'll get back to our code and we'll select this main menu, and inside this we have UL, and I'm going to say that the margin has to be 0 pixels and the padding has to be 0 pixels. So if I do this, now if I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, see that thing goes away. But we still have these bullets. We need to get rid of these bullets now. So what we'll do is we'll also say here that the list style type is going to be none. We don't want any kind of styling over there. So if I hit refresh, that's going to go away. Now the next one what I have is the li. So basically li is a list item. It acts like a block element. It's taking the entire size of my container. So the first thing I would have to do is I'd have to make it stop doing that. So let's get back to our code, and you can see this. Just copy this line. So basically we are saying that inside main menu we have UL, and inside that UL we have a li. Actually we have multiple li, and here we're going to say to display as inline block. Let me save this, and if I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, okay, see now they're coming one beside the other, only the service is kind of hanging like this. Okay, I need to increase the spacing of this. I need to change the color, and I have to do a lot of things. Now it's in this color, that's because of the anchor tag which is wrapped around it. So we need to target the anchor tag now. So let's get back here, and I'm going to copy this entire thing and I'm going to paste it here, and inside this we have an anchor tag. I'm going to change the color to white, I'm going to say that the text decoration is going to be none. Save that. Let's see how that is coming out. If I refresh, yes, it's coming out really well. So let's get back to our code, and what we'll do here is I'm going to call this as display block, and I will say that the padding has to be around 15 pixels. I'll set that the background color, actually I don't need a background color over here right now, so let me save this. If I get back to my browser and hit refresh, okay, that looks good. We need to change the font though. So here we're going to say that the font family is going to be sans serif, and I want the font size to be smaller. Let me save this, and if I get back to my browser and refresh, okay, that looks good. Now what I want is when I take my cursor here, I want the background color of this each and every item to change. So this specific function is actually called a pseudo element. So I'm going to take this anchor tag here and I'm going to paste it here. So I'm going to add this hover with the column, and I'm going to say that when I hover this, I want the background color to be in orange. Let me save that in my browser. If I hit refresh and if I take my cursor, you can see that the background color changes. Now that we have built our navbar, now we need to work with our drop down menu. We can check this out. We have the home, about, services, product, and contact, but the services has a drop down, but it doesn't come out. We need to get this thing out, and it should only be visible when I take my cursor on the services. Let's see how to create that in this class. Let's get back to our code. So now you can go to your index.html. You can see that we have the UL tag, and this is where my drop down menu is. So what we'll do is we'll specify a class for this. I'm going to call this as drop. We'll select this one. I'm going to select this. Let's go to our CSS. Now you can see that our drop menu has this bullets over here. We need to get rid of that one. So what we'll do is we'll create a comment here. I'm going to call this as drop, and inside this I will say that the dot drop list style type is none. It doesn't have a margin and it doesn't have a padding, so I'm going to remove all those items from there. Let's hit refresh. Okay, that kind of came out, but we need to get this out of this place. So let's get back to our code, and here I'm going to specify position as absolute. Save that, and if I go back to my browser and if I refresh, you can see that is outside now and our navigation bar looks beautiful. Now we need to style these items. So let's get back to this page, and since we have a drop, this is the UL tag, and inside this we have a li, and inside that we have an anchor tag. So what I'm going to do is I have already written a lot of styles here. I'm just going to copy these items and then I'm going to paste it here. So the first thing what I'll be doing here is I'm going to add a background color as black color. Let me save that, and if I go back to my browser and if I hit refresh, you can see now that has a really beautiful look. So when I take my cursor, just like these things, I want the drop down menu also to be highlighted. Let's get back to our code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, paste it here. I'm going to say when I hover this, I want the background color to be in orange color. Let me save that. And if I get back to my browser, let's hit refresh. You can see that now it's highlighting. But we don't want this to be appearing here. We want it to only appear when I take my cursor on the services. Let's get back to our code. You can say this is the drop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say display as none. So basically it's going to hide. So if I go to my browser and hit refresh, you can see that's gone. So when I come here, when I reach services, I want the drop down to appear, right? So for that, what we're going to do is we're going to take these items here. Just copy this one, scroll down and just paste it here. So when I hover here, I want the dot drop to display as block. So basically this is going to convert the element which I have hidden and it's going to display it as block. Let's see if it works. Let's get back to the browser. Let's hit refresh. We have home, about, and services. Okay, our drop down menu works. You can see that the banner slider images are kind of outside the container, and I'm getting the scroll bar. So basically in the web design field, if you get a horizontal scroll bar, that's not a good thing. So what we'll do now is we'll make them fit within our container, and then we're going to create the slideshow. So let's get back to our code. If I scroll down, this is my slideshow, I'm going to give a class and call that as banner. Let me save that and let me close this one. Okay, I don't need this, so I'm going to select this banner class and get back to our styles, and here I'm going to say banner, say dot banner, and here I can specify the width. I can specify the width can be 1000 pixels, that is the exact width of the container, and the height I'm going to set it to auto. I'm going to set that one. Okay, so now what I need is inside the dot banner I have img, that's my image. I'm going to set the width of that image to 100%. okay, and the height I'm going to set it to auto. Let me save that. If I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, you can see now that images are kind of fitting inside this. So let me inspect this. Let's see what is the size of the image which we have chosen. So if I select this one, so if I can select my image here, it shows that is 1200 by 500, but what I need is the actual size in the browser. So if I select my image over here, you can see it says 1000 by 416. I'm going to set it to that much. So here I'm going to set the height to 416.66 pixels. Save that and let's get back here. Let's hit refresh. I can see my text is kind of overlapping the image. That's because the width and height of the image are fixed and the text is now overlapping. So we need to fix that one. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say overflow. Anything that is coming outside the div is going to be hidden. So let me save that. Let's get back to our browser and hit refresh. Okay, you can see now that we don't see the other image coming out. So what we need to do now is we need to create a slideshow here. So this should be moving. So to do that, what we'll do is we'll go to the next tab and in Google look for jQuery cycle 2. The latest version is 2, and in this one you can go to get started, and you can see that there are 2 links here. So just copy these 2 links, and in your code in the index.html just go to the footer part, and before the body tag closes, paste these 2 links. Now what we have to do is we just have to call this cycle slideshow inside our banner. So I can get back to my banner here, and right beside it I'm going to call this one. So let's get back to our browser. Let's hit refresh. Let's see if it works. Yes, our slideshow works. But there is a small issue. See, my navigation bar now doesn't show the drop down. So drop down kind of appears only when the slide happens. So basically what's happening is the slideshow has the higher value of z index. So I need to make sure that my drop down also has the higher value of z index. Let's get back here. In my style.css, you can see that we have a drop here, and drop class I'm going to set z index as 999 and save that. Let's get back to browser. Let's hit refresh. Now if I take my cursor, okay, we have our drop down and our slideshow. There are 3 types of styles when it comes to HTML. We have inline style, internal style, and external style. In this class, I'm going to show you all the 3 different types of styles and how to use them. So let's just say that I have a div tag, and inside that I have a heading that says welcome to CSS. And now inside that we can add one more paragraph which can be just a lorem. Okay, so what we can do now is we can let me break this so that we can get that in a multiple line. Okay, great. Okay, so let's copy this file path, and in the Chrome browser I'm just going to paste this. Okay, so we have this one. So what I want to do now is, you see this text is kind of being quite lengthy, so it's being reached almost to the edge of the browser here. So I need to cut short this to around this size somewhere so that everything can come in the paragraph style. To do that, you can see that we have a div tag here. So I'm going to write a inline style sheet to customize this. So here I'm going to click here, I'm going to type in style, and then we'll specify the width. So the width of the document which I'm creating, or the box which I'm creating, is going to be around 500 pixels. Let me save that. If I go back to my browser and click on refresh, you can see now that it's well organized. We can add multiple styles inside our inline. For example, I can give the background color for that one. It can be a teal color, and if I save that, come back to my browser, and if I hit refresh, you can see that we're having some really nice background color. So let me just change the font color because it kind of doesn't match to the background. So what I'll do is I'm going to change the font color of the h3 tag and also the paragraph. So I'm going to say style color will be white. I want to copy the same thing and then I'm going to paste it inside this one too. So if I save this, get back to my browser, and if I hit refresh, you can see that changed. But the fonts are the default fonts, so I need to change the font styling too. So let's go back to our code, and here right after the teal, I'm going to say that the font family is going to be sans serif. Okay, let me save that, and if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, you can see that now we have beautiful fonts too. Okay, so let's work with the internal CSS. To do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this file as internal.html. I'm going to change the first one to inline so that people can remember that. Okay, so we have inline and then we have now internal. So I'm going to close the inline. So there's the internal one. So let me get rid of all the styles which I wrote. So I'm going to remove all this, and I'm going to remove this one too. I'm going to remove this one too. So we have a document as we created in the beginning. So let me just copy this link now, and in the browser we just paste it and hit refresh. Okay, so our document is back to normal as it was before. Now internal CSS kind of works everything in the head portion. So you can see this head tag here. We'll be creating our internal style sheet over here. So if somebody says internal style sheet, you are supposed to add your styles inside the head tag, but after the title. Okay, never added before the title. It should be always after the title. So I'm going to say style, and inside that now we can start it. The first one which I have is a div tag. Okay, now when it comes for internal, you're supposed to add this flower braces. So in the beginning we did not add that when you're working with the inline, because inline doesn't require flower braces, but here we do. So here what we can do is first we need to specify the width. I'm going to set it to 500 pixels. We save that. If I get back to browser and if I refresh, okay, that changed. I'm going to give a background color, and that has to be in teal color, and I want the font family to be sans serif. Great. So if I get back to my browser and refresh, see, we have this one. So what we can do now is we need to change the font color. So I'm going to say that the h3 and the paragraph, both the color will be in white color. So let me save this. If I get back to my browser and hit refresh, there we have an internal CSS. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this page as external.html. So in order to work with external style sheet, what we need is we need a file, an external CSS file, where we can put all our code. So to do that, I'm going to create a folder here called CSS, and inside that I'm going to create a file called style.css, and I'm going to store all my style information over here. So let's get back to our style sheet or our HTML file. You can see all the style here. Okay, let me just run this first. I'm going to copy this path and paste it over here, and let's hit enter. Okay, everything looks fine. So basically what I need to do is I can just move all of this item what I have here, just cut this and then move it to my CSS file. Now if I get back to my document here and if I refresh, see, all my style sheet is gone, all my styles are gone. So instead of writing the style tag, you will be writing a link tag. So inside the link, it is related to style sheet, and we need to link it to our CSS style.css. We save that, and if I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, you can see my style is back. Now just to make sure that it is working, let me add some box model text to that. So I'm going to go back to my div. I'm going to add some padding, and I'm going to add it to around 15 pixels. We save that. If I get back to my browser, if I hit refresh, there we have some padding in our box.